Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Oh wow, then you must be a proud mother to have him have his birthday today. An unfortunate day that his birthday is Friday the 13th, but hey, it's nonetheless a celebration. So, what are we gonna do for, Jason, for young Jason? Are we gonna throw him a birthday party? I saw him swimming. I saw him that he would have it a Yale time there, but are we gonna get him like presents, a birthday cake? Is there gonna be games involved in this party? I just want to know what will be there on this party because I am very interested in coming, but I just want to know what I'm getting myself into. So, what are your plans for having young Jason here? Are we going to just have a party? Is it going to be party and games? Is it going to be presents, cake and ice cream? Oh, lighten up, lady. It's only your son's birthday, but it's only your son's birthday and you're trying to plan him a party. There's no reason to lose your head. Greeting ghouls and goblins, ladies universe and mighty nerdy, and happy Lazyween because Lazyween continues that today is Friday the 13th, so I thought it would be awesome to pay tribute to the amazing Jason Voorhees, the man, the myth, the legend, the hockey mask that we have all come to know and love. And yet surprisingly as a Jason and yet surprisingly um I've known of Jason Voorhees for a long time before I've seen any of the movies. And surprisingly enough, I have never seen the original movie. I've heard people talk about it. I've seen some clips here and there, but I've never officially have ever seen the cult classic 1980 original. Which, for a lot of people that don't know, which I'll discuss as the review goes on, is that the original does not have Jason Voorhees as the actual killer. And in fact, what one of the people that worked on the original movie, Tom Savini, the amazing special effects artist that worked on Night of the that worked on Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and a lot of other movies, he was even so upset that he kind of left Friday the 13th for a while after he was trying to comprehend how Jason Voorhees went from a little kid into an adult male. But simply enough, though, you gotta know who Jason Voorhees is. He is a cult classic slasher that fits in a horror genre every October. For those of you who are the unaware or don't know, Jason Voorhees is a boy that drowned at Camp Crystal Lake when he was just a young boy and came back as a zombie. That's kind of the idea, anyway. Jason is a legendary slasher that runs alongside of Freddy Krueger and even Michael Myers for being such a legendary slasher of the horror genre and variety. And also, yes, if you're wondering, I do love Jason Voorhees, but not as much as Freddy Krueger, and in fact, my favorite Jason Voorhees actor is Kane Hodder, for those of you unaware. It's just unfortunate, however, that Jason Voorhees, or Kane Hodder, got his major start in Freddy Goes to Manhattan, or Jason Takes Manhattan. Yeah, Jason Takes Manhattan isn't exactly a bad film, but it is the most boring in the entire variety, so the less said the better. I know it's kind of unfortunate that I say like Kane Hodder is my favorite Jason, which he is. I'm also sorry that I said Freddy Takes Manhattan. That sounds like something that not even Robert Englund would do. But I have never seen the original. In fact, one time when the Sci-Fi Channel was doing a Friday the 13th marathon to celebrate Friday the 13th, and this was years ago. I don't remember when, truthfully. Um, I have never seen the cult classic original Friday the 13th directed by the amazing Sean S. Cunningham. Never exactly have seen it. So for today, in honor of Friday the 13th, I'm going to take a look at the original and give you guys my thoughts and opinions. I'm going to just talk about the movie and kind of like a great overview of it because not too much happens plot wise in this movie. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, both good, bad, and in between. So let's talk about the Sean S. Cunningham classic, Friday the 13th, and get this done and out of the way about how I feel about it. So I don't think it is necessary to really come in here and go surprise because every Friday the 13th movie followed the same pattern as the original. So the original one opens up at Camp Crystal Lake, but years before it reopened, so 1958 to be exact. There's a lonely group of campers that end up basically taking care of children, as usually a camp would do, and two camp counselors walk away to go have sex. Unfortunately for poor Timmy here, he found the worst kind of penetration, and same with Jessica. I have no idea of their actual name, but those are the names that I'm deciding to give them for this review. When the young lady asks about Camp Crystal Lake, everybody is silent, especially that they nicknamed it Camp Blood in honor of what happened years prior it reopened. So I think it goes without saying that right out of the bat, the way how this movie opened up, I like how it opens up with the mysterious killer. I think that Cunningham did a great job of kind of honoring or attributing the amazing John Carpenter who did Halloween, who was the famous one for the POV shot of the killer, and I do like that. And the killer, for the most part in the movie, yeah, she is hidden, and yes, I said she. We'll get to that later. Um, but the thing that I would have liked to them to talk about is like show Jason drowning, show what happened during that incident. I know that Freddy vs. Jason kind of touched upon it just a little bit um, with the nightmare sequence that showed a little bit of Jason's origin story that I did like, but it's kind of like yeah, but we need like more, like just a little cent more is all that I wanted from this movie. I also would have liked to know, not necessarily just straight out say that she's the killer, but I would have liked to have a little bit like more interaction with Pamela Voorhees, who I'll talk about later. But this film really weighted her. I mean, I love the actress that portrays her, which I'll talk about her again in a bit. But she is so much weighted potential. It's like we have this big build up to this amazing character, and she is amazing. But yet, there's very little payoff in the end when she showed up. It's kind of like this film probably would have benefited if they just showed her anyway and was just like, yeah, this lady with the killer, like pull off a Scooby Doo, like Old Man Jenkins, or my personal favorite from a pup named Scooby Doo, Red Herring. There is no red herring in this movie. Like how sometimes horror films have like a red herring. There is no red herring in this film. And in fact, in following Wes Craven or Scream, which I think that Wes Craven probably took his idea from this movie, is that if you have sex in any horror movie, you're guaranteed to be dead, and that is exactly what happens in this movie. Every character that had sex end up ends up dying. But I do like the cast that we have in this movie is also having one of my favorite actors from one of my favorite horror movies, or horror comedy, Tremors, is Kevin Bacon, who plays Bill, who isn't exactly an amazing character, but all the teenagers, in fact, which I think which is great for Sean, is that they all act like your traditional, everyday, average American teenagers. They all act like they're supposed to. They never do any worse or best than their best, and they all just give off great performances all the way around. So I have to applaud them all. So it's not well established right away. They do know that something is wrong at the lake, especially since it opens up, and a lot of mysterious things have been happening to them all the way around, but none of them die just yet. In fact, our main surprise is that Adrienne Kane, who plays Alice, happens to be our survivor girl, and I do have to like Adrienne Kane as Alice. She actually is a very good character. Like I didn't exactly expect that the first time I watched this either. I thought like they were all going to be survivors. In fact, even I actually thought that like Kevin Bacon, as big as a name as he was, well technically not at the time. I mean it wasn't until later where he became famous with like Tremors and Hollow Man, Footloose, and also Friday the 13th was kind of like his footing ground. But it was like mostly like Footloose, like I said, Tremors and other films that he worked on that became cult classics for a lot of people. I've seen Hollow Man. I didn't really like it. Uh, that's just me though. But I actually really do like Adrienne Kane as Alice. She's very sweet. She's sympathetic. She's the heart and soul of the group, and I actually really do like that. I found myself liking her a lot more than I thought. There's all the amazing characters in this. There's Bill. There's Ned. There's Jake. There's Alice. There's Amy. I think that's what her name is. I actually forgot her name, truthfully, off the top of my head. We'll just call them all, except for Alice, Dead Meat. Dead Meat and Kevin Bacon. There we go. We'll call it Dead Meat and Kevin Bacon. Um, but I do like Adrian Kane. Um, especially when they revealed like this is the main character throughout this, and in fact, also another character, and I know that a lot of people will jump down my throat if I don't talk about him. Is this one that is named Crazy Ralph? Crazy Ralph is actually kind of like a very near and dear, heartfelt character. He's a guy that seeing people die at the Camp Crystal Lake, it kind of hinted that maybe, or just me, this is just my theory, is that maybe Ralph did work at the camp with Mrs. Voorhees. Maybe he knows something that they don't, and he's just trying to protect them all. In fact, something that we never got from the film either that is kind of a nitpick is that we never get to see Mrs. Voorhees work with them. She says later on in the film that she worked with Steve Miner and his parents, and Steve Miner's parents, I think, like originally had the camp before they passed away because we don't see them in the film, and Steve is the one that opened it up. So it would have been kind of nice to see like Mrs. Voorhees, like open the like do something like she's the cook, activity director, something. But I do have to say I also do like Crazy Ralph. He does try to help out the kids as much as he can. He's a very sympathetic, very well-spoken character who wants to help the kids because he feels like it's his prerogative to help out these young children with everything that's been going on. You know that Ralph means well. You know that he would never do anything to hurt a soul. In fact, he's a very sweet character. It's just that he's trying to help them out in the best of ways that he knows how. Now, before we talk about Mrs. Voorhees, and before we talk about the amazing performance of the legendary Betsy Palmer, who did an amazing job in this, in fact, she kind of feels like the female Norman Bates in a way, which is a compliment, that's not a complaint. I think that it would be best because a lot of people, gorehounds and probably people watching this movie are like, where is the blood and where is the fucking gore in this video? I will give you the goddamn blood and gore. But I'm only going to show you guys my favorite kills in this movie, and I only have just a few. The first one, my favorite one that I showed, was in the beginning with the joke. Mrs. Voorhees decapitation, or Mrs. Voorhees gets some head. There's so many jokes I could make to that. It's actually my favorite one, but there is just a couple more that are my favorite in this. So without further ado, and I'm not going to tell you the character's name, I'm just going to let this kill be played, and then we'll talk about Mrs. Voorhees in just a bit. But here are, I would suppose, my top three, because I already showed you my favorite. Here are my top three favorite kills in the original John S. Cunningham Friday the 13th. So please enjoy. So almost at the end of the film, we finally get introduced to the killer of the movie, Pamela Voorhees, played by the legendary Betsy Palmer. I love Betsy Palmer in the role as Pamela Voorhees. I think that she's a wonderful and terrific character. It's just, and also she suffers multiple personality disorder, kind of like Norman Bates does. Because if you remember, Norman had this mother persona that was in the back of his head that was mostly pulling the strings and taking control. With Pamela Voorhees, it seems like that maybe the Jason persona that she created when he died at just a young age and the shock that she just couldn't take, kind of similar to Norman Bates from Psycho, is that the persona is the one that's pulling the strings in Pamela Voorhees' mind. He's the one that is controlling her and making her do all these actions. And in fact, there are times, and creatively enough, they had Jason speak to his mother as in saying, "Get them, mommy, kill them, kill them, kill them!" Which is kind of a haunting thing to think about, and I think that Betsy Palmer is the best thing in this movie. It's just that the downside of this is that I really wish that Pamela or Betsy Palmer herself was more present in the movie because she's such a great performance, and sometimes you save the best to last. I understand that. I'm just saying that I thought that like she would have been more present and prominent in the movie, but I do have to say I do like the final showdown between Alex and Pamela. It is a test of skill, and it also showed you why Alex is the survivor girl. She had to push down everything deep down inside and try to face off against this killer that unexpectedly showed herself. It's a battle of wits. It's a battle of test and courage. It's a battle of everything in between, and you actually get to see that play out throughout a majority of the movie. Both Adrian King and Betsy Palmer did an amazing job in this movie. They did no worse than their best, and honestly, they gave the best performance that anyone could ask for. It's just unfortunate that the major downfall is that by the time that this happened, I wasn't very interested or well enveloped in what was going on for the film to really enjoy the climactic ending. So, do I hate Friday the 13th? Do I think it's a bad horror film or underrated one? No. In fact, I really do think that Friday the 13th is a great film. However, and I'm sorry to fans of the original film, it's not perfect. There are several things that this film could have done that would have made me more interested. This, this, uh, talk about Pamela Voorhees more. Let us see more of Jason's origin. They do kind of explain it, I think, but I haven't seen, or binged the Friday the 13th film. I know that Jason versus Freddy did, but I'm not sure about the other film. But I think the other film did too. It kind of like explain more of like his origin, and it's like good, especially tying him into Evil Dead with the Necronomicon for some reason. So it's kind of like good in a sense, but they explain more. Yeah, however, while I do like it and the amazing performance of Betsy Palmer are amazing, I don't love this movie. I'm not saying that it's badly acted or badly directed or anything like that. Far from it. The music by Harry Manfredini is amazing. The special effects by Tom Savini are superb. And John Cunningham's directing style was absolutely fantastic. And I love the little nod that he threw in there to kind of pay respect to the masters that came before him. Especially for like Alfred Hitchcock, like I said, I did reference Psycho, and also yes, Halloween. So it's nice to see that that Sean Cunningham did an amazing job paying respect to the masters that came before him. However, though, I have to say that I am not that big of a fan of the original movie. While it's great, I would have to say that for some people it might be a required taste, since this movie tends to kind of move at a fast pace, introduces characters, and then quickly kill them off later on. It feels kind of rushed in that regard. But then again, Sean Cunningham's production history of Friday the 13th is something that you should look into. It's pretty interesting about how much that it took for him just to lift this film off the ground and start running. But I didn't hate Friday the 13th. I did like it, but like I said, it's like a required taste. And that's why my Funko Pop rating of Friday the 13th is going to have to be an Emma Bloodstone because while this film is amazing, it for some people has to be a diamond in the rough. It just takes a required taste for them to get used to. Happy Lazyween, and thank you so much for liking and subscribing. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please be sure to do so. If you'd like to join me on seeing what I'm going to be reviewing for the next review, or even if you want to help me plan out my every schedule in doing reviews, then be sure to follow me at Twitter with the link in the description down below. Next time, however, I think that we're going to take a small break from the movies and actually go back to the manga or comic book category, as I'm going to talk about a manga that really surprised me for how good it was. I only own the first two volumes, but I'm still going to talk about it anyways and how much that it surprised me. So I think that Monday we're going to talk about a legendary swordsman that is known for slaying demons. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me at Twitter with the link in the description down below. Happy Lazyween. I've been Lazy Universe. I've been waiting nerdy. Keep eking on. And as always, guys, stay spooky and beware of people that wear hockey masks.